It's time for another round of Nintendo Switch 2 backwards compatibility testing, and this time we're looking at a fresh set of titles that cover everything from arcade racing to survival, superheroes to party chaos. Whether it's Grid Autosport shifting gear, Burnout Paradise smashing it up, or surviving in the long dark, this batch of backwards compatibility tests covers a wide range of genres to see how much the Switch 2 can bring to older favourites. Let's dive in. Grid Autosport. Grid Autosport was one of the more technically impressive races on the original Switch, offering 3 visual modes to choose from, which were graphics, performance, and energy saver, offering different frames per second. For this test, I decided to run Grid Autosports in graphic mode, which focuses on sharper visuals but is locked at 30 FPS. The game ran very smoothly without stutters or dips, and it looked great. There's crisp textures, clean car models, and nice environmental detail. It's clear the Switch 2 has the muscle to potentially polish this mode easily to 60 FPS, but the frame rate cap remains in place, making this more of a limitation in the game's design than the hardware. All modes remain locked to their original frame rates regardless of the extra power available. It's still a fantastic portable racer, smooth, clean, and looking good as ever. It's just a shame that the FPS is locked, because the Switch 2 clearly has the grunt to do a little bit more. Burnout Paradise Remastered. Burnout Paradise Remastered was a pleasant surprise on the original Switch, delivering a consistent 60 FPS frame rate both docked and handheld, something rarely seen in open world races on the platform. Given its fast-paced gameplay and huge map, players were curious to see if the Switch 2 could smooth things out even further, or even just bump up the visuals on its sharper display. On the Switch 2, the game still hits its 60 FPS mark and hovers around it. It feels slick and responsive, and it's exactly what you want from a Burnout title. That said, the sharper screen does make some of the lower resolution textures and environmental details more noticeable, giving it a slightly more pixelated look than before. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but it does stand out compared to newer, more optimized titles. It's still a blast to play with smooth performance and that classic Burnout chaos intact. The resolution does show its age a little on the sharper display, but the fun factor certainly holds up. Lonely Mountains Downhill. Lonely Mountains Downhill built its reputation on smooth performance and simple, beautiful visuals, but fans were curious to see if the Switch 2 could enhance that already solid experience. While the original Switch version ran well, some players hoped for an even tighter frame rate and crisper detail on the new hardware. On the Switch 2, this game is an absolute treat. It runs silky smooth, just below 60 FPS, with no noticeable frame rate dips, and the clean, low poly art style shines through on the sharper screen. The minimalist approach to graphics mean there isn't a massive visual leap from the original version, but the smooth performance and crisp presentation make this one of the easiest recommendations in the batch. It's a great game to pick up again and to get lost in the quiet challenge of the trails. It's still fantastic and smoother than ever, and if you liked it on Switch 1, it's absolutely worth the ride on Switch 2. Vigor. Vigor drew mixed response on the original Switch, with players noting long load times, inconsistent frame rates, and some technical rough edges that occasionally broke the flow of its tense survival shooter gameplay. Fans hoped the Switch 2 would clean up these issues and make the experience smoother and sharper overall. On the Switch 2, Vigor looks super sharp with no signs of dynamic resolution scaling that really blurred the image in the original version. The visuals hold steady and the frame rate is locked at a smooth 30 FPS throughout matches. The sharper screen helps the environments pop more clearly, and it makes the overall experience crisper and more polished than before. Unfortunately, during testing, I did get a notification that Vigor will be ending support soon on the Switch, which is really a shame because I feel like it's finally in a playable state. It's a huge improvement over the original release, and while it's still capped at 30 FPS, the visual clarity and stability would have made Vigor far more competitive on the Switch too. Such a shame. Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Mario & Rabbids was one of the better optimized games on the original Switch, praised for its colourful visuals, creative design, and mostly stable frame rate. People wanted to see if the Switch 2 could squeeze out any extra polish and performance improvements out of an already strong showing. No real surprises here, Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope runs great on the Switch too, just like it did on the original hardware. The game holds steady performance-wise with no noticeable dips or technical issues. That said, there's just no drastic improvement either, as the game was already really well optimized to begin with. Still, it's a fantastic, fun, and charming strategy game that feels right at home on Nintendo's latest system. I actually got to interview the legendary Grant Kirkhope, and he told me that this was actually one of his most favorite projects to work on, so feel free to check that out on my channel. Overall, it's a solid and smooth experience, and it's just as good as ever. No major improvements, but none really needed. The Long Dark. The Long Dark delivered a strong survival experience on Switch 1, but occasionally bumped into minor performance quirks from frame rate dips to fuzzy textures and a clunky interface. With the game's atmospheric design and tense survival mechanics, fans were eager to see if the Switch 2 could smooth things out and make the wilderness a little more welcoming. On Switch 2, The Long Dark runs silky smooth at what appears to be an uncapped frame rate. Movement and exploration feel more responsive, and the game looks sharper all around. On top of that, there's a whole bunch of new features and updates that have been added since I last played, making it feel like a refreshed and expanded survival experience, one I plan to sink more time in when I get a break. It's a surprisingly great improvement. It's smooth, crisp, and full of new content, well worth revisiting for old fans and newcomers alike. Fall Guys. The original Switch version of Fall Guys left plenty to be desired, and despite that, I still sunk plenty of hours on it. It was plagued by inconsistent frame pacing, noticeable frame rate drops, and some frustrating stutter during crowded areas. Players were eager to see if the Switch 2 could finally deliver smooth, chaotic party experience that this game deserved. Fall Guys runs significantly better on the Switch 2. The frame rate holds steady with no noticeable drops, even in the busiest player-filled rounds where the Switch 1 struggled the most. The game feels smoother and more responsive overall that make the fast-paced, unpredictable action even more enjoyable. It's a huge improvement, and it's easily the best portable version of Fall Guys so far. Smooth, stable, and finally living up to its chaotic fun that its console and PC counterparts deliver. Starlink Battle for Atlas. Starlink Battle for Atlas was an impressive technical feat on the Switch 1, running smoothly and including exclusive Star Fox content. But some players noticed the reduced environment detail and resolution compared to other platforms, and they were curious to see how it would run on the Switch 2. On Switch 2, Starlink runs at a locked 30 FPS with no frame rate issues to speak of. The game feels great to play and holds up surprisingly well, despite some mild pixelation noticeable on the sharper display. It's a fun, vibrant, and well-designed experience, and honestly, I feel like it's a sad reminder of when Ubisoft used to take risks to produce new IPs with unique and creative mechanics. It's a real gem that holds its charm years later. It's surprisingly excellent on Switch 2, runs smooth, looks solid, and reminded me why this game deserves more love. Sonic & Shadows Generations. Fans were keen to see if Sonic Cross Shadows Generation on Switch 2 would get any meaningful improvements, especially since the game is already running at a higher frame rate on other platforms. With the Switch 2's improved hardware, we would hope to get the 60 FPS performance seen elsewhere. Now, the Switch 1 version of the game runs smoothly on Switch 2, but disappointingly, it's still locked at 30 FPS. There's no sign of an upgrade path, meaning if you want the Switch 2 specific enhancements, you have to buy the game again at full retail. That said, the gameplay feels solid and responsive, and visually it holds up well. It's just a shame that there was no upgrade path on this one. A real disappointment and a baffling approach on Sega's behalf. It's a fun and smooth experience, but a missed opportunity. The lack of 60 FPS or a cheaper upgrade path on Switch 2 is noticeable, especially when other platforms offer it, but it's still a great time. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was built exclusively for the Switch and delivered a solid experience overall, but players reported frame rate drops and stuttering during chaotic on-screen battles, particularly in multiplayer mode. People asked me to check it out to see if the Switch 2 would iron out those issues for a smoother ride. On the Switch 2, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 runs well, locked firmly at 30 FPS. The game feels stable throughout from what I played, with no obvious stutters or dips even during the bigger battles. While frame rate cap remains in place, the game handles it comfortably, and the extra system power seems to help maintain that consistency across the board. There's no real surprises here, but no real issues either. It's a rock solid 30 FPS experience that plays exactly like you'd hope, but without any Switch 2 specific enhancements. And there you have it, another stack of games tested on the Switch 2. The Long Dark really stood out to me with its smooth uncapped performance, and the new features were a nice bonus. Fall Guys finally delivers the experience fans want on the portable hardware, and it's such a shame that Sonic Cross Shadows Generation didn't get an upgrade patch or path, but the original still plays great. If there's any titles you'd like to see tested, let me know in the comments. Be aware, for some games I'll have to wait until they go on sale before I can cover them. I'm not ignoring you, I'm just limited in budget, so I'll see what I can do. As always, thanks for watching and supporting my videos. You guys have helped make What's It Like a really fantastic job to do, and I appreciate it immensely. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it, the best way you can support What's It Like is by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. For more reviews, click on the thumbnails to the right, and for everything Nintendo, check out whatsItlike.com.au.